All names are fake. Every year, my cousin Millie and I take a big trip abroad. This year, we were heading to Italy for 3 weeks, and I had planned everything. Suddenly, our other cousin, Kerry, wanted to tag along, claiming it's her dream trip. Here's the issue. Kerry and I don't talk. We used to be close, but in 2022, she didn't invite me or my entire family to her wedding, including my dad, her direct uncle. To this day, we have no idea why. Kerry refused to explain, and my aunt kept giving different excuses. Some examples: you didn't call her on her birthday. Okay, somewhat valid. You live out of state. We didn't want to burden you. We visit them 1 to 2 times a year. You didn't invite us to your weddings. We did. Kerry literally copied my sister's wedding invite. Kerry wanted a small wedding. I guess 120 guests is small in some societies. Fed up my cousin, but especially my aunt, my dad went no contact, and the rest of us followed except for Millie. Millie is a gem of a human being. She's tried to keep the family together, calling out Kerry and my aunt on their excuses, but respecting that we want minimal contact for now. Even she hasn't gotten a straight answer about the wedding invites. Meanwhile, Millie and I have grown closer, and our shared love of travel has become a tradition. Our Italy trip was already booked when Millie started mentioning places Kerry recommended. Odd, considering Kerry has never been to Italy. Eventually, Millie asked if I'd be open to Kerry joining us. My gut reaction was no, but I decided to think it over. A few hours later, Kerry texted me. We had never blocked each other, but just never reached out. She apologized for the wedding drama and said she wanted to move past it. I was caught off guard and a bit suspicious, but figured maybe this was a chance to mend things. We chatted for a few days, and she shared how her in-laws mistreated her and supposedly controlled the wedding guest list. At first, I sympathized. I even started feeling guilty about not wanting her to come. Then we talked about Italy. She had a list of luxurious recommendations. Think specific restaurants, private tours, high-end hotels. And that's when she slipped up. She casually mentioned quitting her job on a whim, being between jobs, and how her husband was tightening their finances. Then came the kicker. She asked if she could pay me back for the trip later. Here's the thing, I don't really lend money to people. For some reason, I don't ever get it back. Let me know if this is a shared experience or if I just got walked over far too many times. I laughed at it and said, no. I could tell she was a bit shocked. Come on, I know you have the money. That's not the point, I told her. If you can't afford the trip up front, you don't get to go. You pay for Millie. I laughed again. I don't, and you're not Millie. Then she said, which got me super heated, it could be the wedding gift you never gave me. I wished I could have slapped her through the phone. I couldn't find the words, and at the risk of saying something horrible, I just hung up. Yes, I make good money, especially compared to my cousins. Millie pays her own way, but I cover a little extra, about an 80-20 split, so she can enjoy some luxuries with me. I do this because I genuinely love traveling with her and enjoy her company. I also don't want finances to be the reason why we wouldn't be able to experience something. She always finds little ways to pay me back, usually by covering meals and snacks, even though I tell her she doesn't have to. I also do this because Millie is incredibly hardworking. Kerry, on the other hand, has a habit of quitting jobs, taking a year off, and then quitting the next one. It's the biggest reason she's never traveled internationally. I asked Millie if she told Kerry about our arrangement, and she admitted she had mentioned it after our last trip but didn't think Kerry would remember, let alone ask for a similar deal. She was surprised Kerry even reached out but still wanted her to come. I told Millie that if Kerry goes, I won't. Kerry can pay me back for the hotel, and I'll find another trip to take with my airline credit. Millie asked me to wait, but I never heard back. Then last night my dad called. My aunt had reached out calling me a horrible person for not helping her daughter just this one time and saying it was just a stupid wedding. My dad normally ignores her, but this time he wanted to check in. After I told him the full story, he and my mom took my side. He told me to ignore my aunt and cousin. I did, however. Other family members from my dad's side started berating me. Apparently, I should let bygones be bygones and take Kerry so we could all have a fun trip together. At that point, I texted Millie again and told her I was officially canceling my portion of the trip. She'd need to find someone else to go with. If she doesn't, I'll cancel the hotel and cover any cancellation fees, but I can't help much with her airfare. She may only get an airline credit. Millie was pissed but said she understood and would try to find another travel buddy. but asked if she couldn't if I would still go anyway without Kerry. I told her I'd think about it. Now I feel bad for putting her in this position, but am I really the a-hole here? Edit. Thanks so much for all the advice. I'm still going through the comments, but I wanted to clarify a few things. When I mentioned the 80-20 split, I meant that Millie covers 80% of her expenses, while I pitch in for about 20%, mainly for some pricier experiences. Millie is fully paying for her hotels, airfare, ground transportation, souvenirs, etc. I'm just covering some tours and extras to make the trip more special for us. There's been a lot of discussion about Kerry and her husband. Her husband, an engineer, is in a solid financial position, but that's largely due to his smart money habits. According to Millie, he's frustrated that Kerry quit her job, especially since it took her 2 years to land it in the first place. For everyone asking, I'm a senior manager of technology at a decently large marketing technology company. Millie works as an event planner for a nonprofit. She earns a decent salary but does struggle financially. Since I do make more, I don't mind covering a few extras here and there. She sells art and dog sits to make extra money for these vacations, so I like to help out when I can. Top comments, commenter. 1. Dear Aunt and Kelly and every relative who chimed in. My refusal to pay for Kelly's side of the trip wasn't about her refusal to invite my family to her wedding. It was because she assumed I would pay for her without even asking. I wasn't caring about her wedding, but the fact she assumed I would pay for her. If you and all the other relatives are also upset that she can't do this trip, then please send her your contribution to only her, and not her husband, to solo visit Italy. I am sure her husband will welcome you, all paying for just her to visit a romantic place solo. Sincerely, someone who thinks it is weird for a married woman to ask to go to a romantic country without their husband as a punishment for him tightening their purse strings because they can't afford her lifestyle. Commenter 2. For all the relatives saying to let her go, tell them that they can pay for her to go. Commenter 3. She put herself in that position and tossed you under the bus for added bonus. Being nice isn't sharing details with someone you are no contact W. Time also to lay out new ground rules if you ever decide to plan another trip with Millie, someone asked. What? Single people can't go to Italy because it's a romantic country? The entire country is romantic. Another commenter also replied, why does a married woman need to go to Italy at the expense of another person? Especially when this married woman wants to go to expensive and luxurious places, expensive hotels. It isn't a girl's trip. It is a pick-me trip at the expense of original poster. Now, original poster never mentioned exactly how well she is paid, but if you ask me, the planning is the only reason she can afford the 80%. I have traveled to Italy myself, and trust me, for 3 weeks it was easily 5 figures, but I had to accommodate my disability. Original poster might not have a disability, but I am certain they aren't using hostels either. If you want the cousin to go on a solo trip to Italy without her husband, after he is forcing her to cut costs because he might actually be contemplating divorce due to her lack of work ethic, then by all means ask original poster for the cousin's bank details so you can contribute to the trip. I bet you she would spend the money before the trip on expensive things, then cry. She needs the money to actually go on the trip to show of the expensive things. Update next day. Hello, Redditors. Thanks so much for a lot of the advice in the comments. I see that we have quite the discussion about romanticized travel destinations, and I am on the side of any place can be a romantic destination if you make it one. But seriously, I was nearly on the verge of tears when I started getting bombarded with calls and messages from my relatives. And it was hard for me to talk this out with my close family like I usually do, as they are intimately involved and probably biased. You all made me feel so much better, and I can't thank you enough. I do have an update for you, kind people. All of this happened just yesterday, so it's nice and fresh. Many of you had questions about Kerry and her husband's relationship. So here's a bit of context. Carter, fake name, is 29 and has been with Kerry for over a decade. They met back in their freshman year of college. I haven't spent much time with him, but the few times I have, he's come across as a pretty decent guy. But he is quite strict with his finances. Well, yesterday he called me for the very first time ever. Turns out Kerry asked him to reach out and try to convince me to take her along on our trip. He admitted that he found her request suspicious, but went along with it mainly to get my number from her and hear things straight from me. And wow, the story she told him was wildly different. Quick bit of background. My parents are independently well off. They've made smart choices, worked incredibly hard, and truly built something from the ground up. That said, it's something my dad's side of the family has occasionally tried to take advantage of. My dad is a bit of a softy and a people pleaser. My mom, on the other hand, is much more direct and no nonsense. While my dad's family has asked for financial help before, my mom has always been firm about boundaries. She's made it clear that if they were to help financially, it would come with conditions. The reason behind this? My grandmother, my dad's mother, was a shopaholic and a hoarder. She had a habit of spending every dime she had on random things from Amazon while neglecting her actual bills. When the bills piled up, she would ask one of her kids for money to cover them, only to turn around and spend that money on even more crap before asking a different kid for the same money. My parents refused to help her because of this and took away all financial funding. Yes, this put a lot of strain on their relationship. My aunt, let's call her Barb, isn't too different from my grandmother. They both had bad spending habits and major issues with social anxiety. According to Carter, she actually spent Kerry's entire wedding fund on a brand new car. Obviously, my uncle, let's call him Jeff, Kerry and Carter were furious when they found out, but Barb just brushed it off and said she'd ask my dad to help cover the costs. Carter said Barb told them my dad refused to help, which is what led him to turn to his family for financial support. That's also why more of Carter's relatives ended up attending the wedding than Kerry's. As for the whole not inviting us part, Kerry decided to leave us out because of my dad's refusal. Apparently, she assumed he knew exactly what he'd done wrong, so she never bothered to explain or talk to him about it. She just cut ties. Meanwhile, Barb, who at the time was extremely close to my dad, kept feeding him little lies, probably hoping to keep the truth from ever coming out. But my dad decided to cut ties first, and they aren't as close anymore. Honestly, I wasn't all that shocked once I heard the reason. Carter went on to explain that Kerry has been spending a lot of money lately, even though she recently quit her job. It had taken her 2 years to land that job in the first place because she was being very picky, hoping for the perfect job. But after just a year, she ended up hating her boss and quit. Now, Carter's getting pretty fed up. He told me he was actually relieved that I turned down her request to join us on the trip. He wants her to focus full-time on finding a job and said he's planning to start scaling back some of the small luxuries he currently provides until she starts putting in the effort. He did say that I should still go with Millie, as he has never seen Millie so down and anxious at the same time. He says I know Millie well and that she is just trying to keep the family together, and said that perhaps a better punishment is to force Millie into paying 100% of the costs, including the tours and activities I tend to provide. I told him I'd think about it and hung up the phone. That was probably the longest conversation I have ever had with Carter, and honestly, I like him even more now. I called up my dad and told him everything. He confirmed that my aunt never asked him for any money regarding the wedding, but did admit he'd probably would refuse to give her anything as well. So either way, we probably wouldn't have been invited. I'm still debating whether I even want to go on this trip anymore. Part of me feels like maybe it wasn't that big of a deal, and I can understand where Millie was coming from. But at the same time, I really don't want to be surrounded by all this drama. It's exhausting, and honestly, it's taken away some of the excitement I initially had. I've recently thought about taking a solo trip somewhere else. I have lots of friends in Thailand and Singapore, so I may visit them instead. Thanks to everyone here in this subreddit, I honestly wouldn't have gotten the clarity I needed without your input. I'll be sure to pop in and out from time to time, though posting and commenting aren't usually my thing. Still, I really appreciate all the support. I did block about half of my relatives from my dad's side, so I won't be hearing from them again. Top comments. Commenter 1. Millie may deserve a second chance, but I wouldn't go on the trip. Millie needs to understand you have boundaries when it comes to Kerry, and your travel plans should be between the two of you from now on. I get she wants to be peacemaker, but it's just going to drag you into drama if she thinks she can keep trying to mediate relationships. Commenter 2. Cut those ties and keep moving, sweetheart. Commenter 3. Of course Millie is down. The person who pays for the majority of the vacation isn't doing it anymore. She's upset about how this is affecting her, not you. She knows damn well you weren't talking to Kerry, and yet she gave details about the vacation to her and told her you pay for the majority. I think a solo vacation to your friends is an awesome idea. If you do decide to go on another trip with Millie, she needs to pay for herself 100%. It sounds like she's a user like her mother and sister and grandmother. Commenter 4. It is time for you to move on. Personally, you should not be going on this or any trip with Millie. She may be feeling down, but it is her own making. She wants to be a people pleaser so she can do it on her own dime, not having others carry the burden. Update 2 days later. Hey all. I can't believe how much attention this got. And oh boy, do I have some tea for y'all. First things first, no, I'm not cutting Millie off. I genuinely believe what happened was an honest mistake. She's a total people pleaser. Honestly, we both kind of are. It's something we're going to work on. That said, I did let her know she'll be covering her full share for all our future trips, and she readily agreed. Millie and I are aiming for a trip together next year when things have cooled off. By then, she should have plenty saved up. Luckily, we canceled everything early enough to get some refund and credit. We travel enough that I'm pretty sure we'll use it. Onto the actual tea. I had blocked Kerry so she couldn't call me directly, but her mom, Barb, decided to call my dad. I happened to be at dinner with my entire family at the time. Barb asked if she paid for Kerry's trip. If I would, I let her come. By that point, Millie and I had already canceled everything, and I told her we'd decided to go our separate ways. Then Barb asked if I'd go if she paid for all of us. Got to say, that was tempting. But my mom shut that down immediately. She didn't want us to be indebted to her. Before I move on, you have to know my mom is definitely the overprotective type. Normally, she doesn't get involved in my dad's drama, but once it started affecting one of her kids directly, she can't resist. And let's just say, my mom has a way with words. Apologies for the language ahead, but I just couldn't resist giving you all this delicious line. She called Barb a lousy, neurotic bitch and said her brain cells needed to come back from vacation before she starts planning anyone else's. Then she added that the bottom of her foot is prime real estate for scum like her, and if either her or Kerry brings this up again, they're getting a personal tour of it. Heel first. My mom's a real estate agent, by the way. That shut Barb up real quick, and she hung up. Now, I know I shouldn't condone violence, but honestly, my sister, brother, and I couldn't stop laughing. She later told me she got that line from one of her colleagues, never thought she'd use it, but glad that she did. Now, here's the part I know all of you nice people will enjoy even more. Carter called me up yesterday to tell me about Kerry's meltdown over this whole mess. He said her spending was literally destroying him and that he's taking some space from her for now. He's not planning a divorce yet, but he gave her a 6-month deadline to get a job, and they'll be doing both couples and individual therapy to work things out. Turns out he's been working overtime just to cover Kerry's expenses, and he's done. Since she's been home, her spending's gone through the roof, and he doesn't want their life ending the way my grandma's did. This additional trip was just the nail in the coffin. As for me, I literally booked my flights to Singapore right before writing this. I'm about to have a wonderful time with my friends there. Thanks again to everyone here. Keep on keeping on. Edit. Showed my mom this post and she wants to thank you for all of the compliments. Top comments. Commenter 1. Your mom rocks big time lol. Also, kudos to you for standing strong through all the crap. Enjoy Singapore. Commenter 2. Carter really needs to divorce Kerry. I personally wouldn't wait. It sounds like Kerry won't change. Commenter 3. Your mom is a badass. Enjoy your solo trip. It's much deserved after all this drama. Commenter 4. Glad to hear that your family are backing your decisions. Enthusiastically. Fantastic to know that you have been able to maintain your relationship with Millie, but with the boundaries you need financially. And while a free trip from your aunt was tempting, you made the right decision. She sounds like she would have held it over you and possibly made demands in the future. Besides, would you really want to be part of rewarding your cousin's bad behavior? Enjoy Singapore. Somebody said, your mom is who I aspire to be. What an absolute badass. I am so happy that you and Millie talked and decided to plan a different trip for next year and that she is willing to pay her part. I feel for Carter, but find it absolutely wonderful that through you and your family laying down your boundaries, that he was able to set his own. Kerry, I really hope that counseling does her some good. I genuinely hope that she can learn to work past these issues and can enjoy life with what is obviously an amazing husband who is willing to do whatever it takes to provide for her. If they do end up getting divorced, I hope Carter can find someone that will cherish him, love him, compromise with him, and be his partner in life. Also, Enjoy that solo trip and soak in all the beauty this planet has to offer, and have a wonderful time with your friends abroad.